Hello everybody and welcome to the June edition of the Diabetes Support Group. Our March meeting, we discussed exercise and diabetes. To kind of cover that, so we talked about when to exercise, which was 1 to 3 hours after eating when your blood sugar levels is likely to be higher. If you use insulin, make sure to test your blood sugar beforehand. We talked about 4 different types of exercise. Aerobic exercise, which is also known as cardio. Strength training, which we also call resistance training. Stretching, which increases your flexibility and keeps the range of motion around your joints in a healthy range. And balance training, which can include both yoga and Tai Chi. Tonight's speaker is Quinn Lund. She is a clinical dietitian here at Salina Regional, and I'll turn the floor over to her.
Hello, thank you all for having me. Today we are going to be talking about artificial sweeteners and different alternative sweeteners. So there are multiple types. We have non-nutritive and nutritive. Non-nutritive, there are different subsections, artificial and natural, and then for nutritive we have sugar and sugar alcohols. So the nutritive ones provide calories, and one of those subsections, the sugar, that some different types are honey, table sugar, maple syrup, agave nectar, and molasses. And then naturally occurring ones can be coming from fruit, vegetables, and dairy foods. So all of them provide 4 calories per gram, and they raise your blood sugar rapidly, except obviously with your vegetables, dairy, and some fruits, it has a lot of fiber in it, which blunts the blood sugar from spiking so much. Typically, they're not recommended for people with diabetes, with the exception of the ones from fruit, vegetables, and dairy. The ones you have to be very wary of are when the recipe says refined sugar-free. I know when I was Googling sugar-free recipes to send to all of you, I Googled sugar-free recipes and a ton popped up that were refined sugar-free, and they were sweetened with honey, maple syrup, agave nectar, or any of the sort. So the next type is sugar alcohols. They are considered nutritive sweeteners. They occur naturally in fruits and vegetables, but then food manufacturers take them, they isolate them from those fruits and vegetables to provide an isolated form of sweetener. On average, they provide about 2 calories per gram, and only about 50% is absorbed, but it's different based on the different sugar alcohols, so it's really important to read your labels and know your sugar alcohols. They provide a slower rise in blood sugar than the sugar-containing ones, but they still may raise your blood sugar a little bit. So, artificial sweeteners, they must be approved by the FDA prior to being available for sale in the US. And then other sweeteners and additives just have to be considered GRAS, or generally recognized as safe. That basically means that general consensus from the experts say, hey, these are safe to be consumed. American Cancer Society, American Diabetes Association, and also the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, which is basically the ruling organization for dietitians, all state that artificial sweeteners are safe when consumed in moderation. So we're going to get into our different sugar alcohols, and I'm not going to go over everything on the slides. There's a lot there, but I wanted to provide that information for all of you in case you wanted to learn more. So sorbitol, it provides 2.6 calories per gram. It is GRAS, and it's 50 to 70% sweet as sucrose. So if you were to use it in baking, then you would have to use a little bit more to get the same amount of sweetness in your product. It does not cause tooth decay, so it may be good if you struggle with cavities, and it's naturally found in a lot of fruits. Mannitol is another one. It has 1.6 calories per gram. It is approved as a food additive, 50 to 70% as sweet as sugar, and it may have a cooling effect, and again, it doesn't cause cavities. Be careful with this one. If you consume a lot of it, it could be used as a laxative. So be careful. The labels do have to state that it has a laxative effect. Xylitol is another one. It provides 2.4 calories per gram. However, it's not digested by your body, so you're not really utilizing those calories. Be careful with these. It is fatal to dogs. I don't know the exact mechanism behind it, but if you're preparing a treat for yourself, don't share it with your dog if you're using xylitol. Erythritol is one of my personal favorites. It is 0.2 calories per gram. It's 60 to 80% as sweet as sucrose. It's becoming a much more common sweetener, especially as a bulk ingredient with some of the sweeter artificial sweeteners, and we'll get into that later. It's naturally found in miso and soy sauce. It's generally recognized as safe. Allulose provides 0.4 calories per gram. It is rare and it's naturally occurring sugar. HSH is 3 calories per gram. D-tagatose is 1.5 calories per gram. Isomaltol is 2 calories per gram. Maltitol is 2.1 calories per gram. It's 90% as sweet as sugar. And this one is really, really common because it has a creamy mouthfeel. So food manufacturers have found that when they replace the fat in a product with this, people still get that enjoyment that they would if it were a full fat product. Lactitol is 2 calories per gram and it's 90% as sweet as sugar. Isomaltulose is 4 calories per gram and trehalose is 3.6 calories per gram. So I just went over a ton of sugar alcohols. The basic things that you need to take away from that is, first of all, you need to check your label because if it says net carb, it could be because of the sugar alcohols in there, and on average you should just probably take 2 calories per gram if sugar alcohols are in it. If you want to be more specific, I provided those calories per gram for you so you can figure it out based on the specific sugar alcohols in that. But those are the biggest takeaways. Next, we'll move on to non-nutritive sweeteners. We have artificial and natural. So I talked previously about how things are considered safe by the FDA or generally recognized as safe. If it's artificial, it has to be okayed by the FDA. They go through testing for it. If it's natural, then it's often just generally recognized as safe, so expert consensus is it's okay to consume. So aspartame K is a common one. Some of the brand names are Sweet One and Sunnit. It is heat stable, so you can use it in baking. The safety level is 23 packets per day. It's 200 times more sweet than sugar. 95% of it is excreted in the urine, and there are greater than 90 studies stating its safety. Aspartame is another one. Some brand names are NutraSweet and Equal. Safety level is 75 packets per day, 200 times sweeter than sugar. It provides 4 calories per gram. However, remember, since it's 200 times sweeter than sugar, then the amount you'd be using is so minuscule that you're not going to be getting many calories from it. It loses its sweetness at high temps, so I don't recommend using it when you're baking cookies. People with PKU should not consume this, and greater than 200 studies support its safety. You also have to be careful with this one, and we will touch on it a bit later, but aspartame is often sweetened with high glycemic bulking agents, so you'll really have to look at your labels to make sure the bulking agent used will not raise your blood sugar. Saccharin, different brands are Sweet and Low, Sweet Twin, and Nectasweet. It is heat stable, so you can use it when you bake. It was the first one to start being used. It was started in 1886. Safety level is 45 packets per day, and it's 200 to 700 times sweeter than sugar. You may find that it has a metallic aftertaste, and it doesn't contribute to tooth decay. Sucralose is a very, very common one. I'm sure all of you have heard of Splenda. It is heat stable, so it may be used for baking. I know Splenda has a big section in the artificial sweetener section of the baking aisle. It is made from sugar. They just change a little bit of the molecular structure so that it's not absorbed by the body, and it is way, way sweeter than sugar. It's 600 times more sweet than sugar. There have been greater than 110 studies that approve it as a safe sweetener. Some people find, though, that it causes some bloating, cramping, and rashes. And it does provide 3.36 calories per gram, but again, it's so much sweeter than sugar that you're not really using that much. Neotame, or a common brand is Nutame, is 7,000 to 13,000 times sweeter than sugar. It's heat stable as well. Safety level is 23 packets per day. It's rapidly and partially absorbed, and then it gets excreted, so you're not metabolizing it so you're not utilizing it at all. And 113 animal and human studies support its safety. Advantame is the newest non-nutritive sweetener that has been approved by the FDA. It's 20,000 times sweeter than sugar. It's not commonly used just because it's new, and safety level is an extreme amount. I don't know anyone that can consume almost 5,000 packets of sweetener. That's a lot. So basically, all of those alternative sweeteners that we've gone over that are available in the US, they've gone through rigorous studies, they've been tested by the FDA, and they are safe based on the information we have today. So next we're going to talk about the natural non-nutritive sweeteners. Stevia is a very, very common one. Some of the brand names are Stevia Nera, Pruvia, and Truvia. It's heat stable, so you can use it when you bake. It is actually made from the leaves of a plant. It's 200 to 400 times sweeter than sugar. It's generally recognized as safe. Safety is only 9 packets per day, and it may have a bitter aftertaste. I know when I taste something with stevia in it, I can kind of tell. Yeah. And then monk fruit, or luhanbu, is another common natural non-nutritive sweetener. It is more expensive than stevia though, so it's not as common, but it doesn't have that bitter aftertaste for a lot of people. It's 100 to 250 times sweeter than sugar. A common brand is Lakanto. It's generally recognized as safe. Yes. So now I'm going to talk about, now that we've gone over all of these different alternative sweeteners, we're going to go over some of the health effects that have been claimed in the past. So, the cancer connection. In the 1970s, there was an animal study using mice that found that when they consumed saccharin, that they developed bladder cancer. However, in all human studies, they have not found a similar situation. So in 2000, it was taken off of the carcinogen list. So basically what this means is, as of right now, there isn't really a connection to cancer. Okay, so the weight connection. Some observational studies have showed relationship between artificial sweetener intake and weight gain. But in clinical trials, it showed the opposite. It actually helped them lose weight. So what does this mean? Basically, observational studies aren't controlling all other aspects of that person's life. It's basically just asking them questions about their diet soda intake, but not necessarily looking into, are they exercising, are they eating fast food, they're not controlling their calories, they're not giving an exercise prescription. The clinical trials, however, they're controlling everything, or many, many things. And so, let's say for you, if you're wanting to lose weight, if you were controlling your calories, exercising, then potentially switching to diet sodas could help with weight loss. The brain connection. So there was a study done using MRIs, and they identified that sugar, or sucrose, had a satisfaction stimulant in the brain that sucralose or Splenda did not. So basically, the sugar was providing satisfaction, and then the artificial sweetener wasn't. So basically what that means is, if you eat something with artificial sweetener, you may not have as much satisfaction. You may still continue to crave sweet things afterwards. Taste connection. So when we continue to consume sweet foods, it changes our taste bud preferences to continue craving more and more sweet foods, just because it wants to get that stimulation. So that could be a problem if you rely on alternative sweeteners a lot. If it's just a treat every now and then, it's unlikely for this to become a problem for you. So the gut connection. Some studies have found that there is a link between artificial sweetener consumption and altered gut bacteria. but it's new research. Basically, it's new. We don't have enough information right now to say, hey, this is going to alter your gut. So insulin connection, there were 2 short-term studies that fed people sucralose, so an alternative sweetener, and acesulfame potassium, another alternative sweetener, prior to getting an oral glucose tolerance test. The people were found to have higher insulin levels than the water group. However, it's not yet significant enough to change current recommendations. This is just 2 short-term studies. So a heart connection. One recent large observational study, so again, observational, they're not controlling everything, found that women who drank 2 diet sodas per day had a higher risk of stroke, heart disease, and overall mortality. However, remember, these type of studies are limited by design, and the diet drink question was only asked once. And they weren't also asking, how often do you consume fast food? How often do you exercise? How many hours of sleep do you get at night? The teeth connection. Recent study found the use of sugar-free products did not lessen dental erosion compared to sugar products. So it's potentially going to help you if you struggle with cavities, gingivitis. Particularly xylitol has been shown to have benefiting your oral health, but remember, don't feed your dogs xylitol. So, the bulking agents that I talked about previously, there are 2 very common ones, maltodextrin and dextrose. So they are classified as a carbohydrate. Maltodextrin provides 4 calories per gram, dextrose provides 3.4 calories per gram. There's no flavor to them, they're just used as a filler because your alternative sweeteners are so much more sweet than sugar. In order to do 1-to-1 for baking, you need something to bulk that up. So these are typically used, however, they may cause your blood sugar to spike because they are a carb, they are providing 3.4 to 4 calories per gram. So you got to be really careful and look at your labels to see if your artificial sweetener is using one of these. However, becoming more common bulk agent, and also it's used in different like protein bars and stuff, is called digestive resistant maltodextrin. So don't confuse that with regular maltodextrin. This is a lot of times used the term DRM or soluble corn fiber. This is 90% fiber, and it has some possible health effects like your gut microbiota, lowering your blood sugar, insulin, and cholesterol. And so because it's 90% fiber, it's, again, like I basically said before, it's not going to make your blood sugar spike like the maltodextrin would or the dextrose. So alternatives to your maltodextrin and dextrose would be erythritol or the DRM. Ones that use erythritol are Truvia and Lecantu, and I have pictures of them if you need that. Be careful when you're going down the grocery aisle with all those artificial sweeteners if you're trying to get a 1-to-1 with sugar. Ones that I personally wouldn't purchase are stevia in the raw, monk fruit in the raw, Splenda, and many other 1-to-1 sweeteners. You just really got to look at your labels because all of these are either use dextrose, maltodextrin, or some of them even use sugar in it. So be careful. So some of the best sweeteners are Lecanto, Whole Earth, liquid sweetener drops, xylitol or erythritol, and allulose. So the liquid sweetener drops, that would be more for something if you want to sweeten your coffee or if you just need a few drops in something because it's much, much sweeter. But for the baking, choose those 1-to-1 ratio sweeteners. Where can you buy them? You can buy them at Amazon, at Walmart, Dillon's, any health food stores. It's becoming very, very common. So how do you use them? I'm not sure if you can read this actually, but you can Google conversion charts for artificial sweeteners, or make sure to buy one that is a 1-to-1 ratio. Or also, using different spices can help sweeten a food without adding a sweetener. So cinnamon, allspice, nutmeg and mace, cloves, cardamom, and vanilla beans are all great ways to sweeten your food a little bit more. You can also use high fiber, low carb flours like almond flour, coconut flour, and bean flours. And you can add fiber like flaxseed or psyllium husk to baked goods, and we're sending out some recipes for you to try that use some of these flours, so I highly recommend. So here are my final thoughts on the artificial alternative sweeteners. So non-nutritive sweeteners and sugar alcohols, all the ones that are out available in the US currently, are considered safe. However, you know, there's continuing research on it, so maybe 50 years down the line we'll find, oh, oops, that one wasn't safe. But as of right now, they've done a lot of studies, especially on those artificial sweeteners, so like aspartame K and sucralose and aspartame, and they haven't found anything as of yet. So my recommendations are, the best sweetener is no sweetener at all, because it could change your taste preferences. However, in moderation, on occasion, using non-nutritive sweeteners is safe and it's okay to use, and it won't raise your blood sugar if you're using the proper ones. And that's all I have for you. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks, Quinn. So to wrap up, what topics would you like us to talk about in future videos? What questions do you have? You can email us at diabetessupportgroup@srhc.com. We would also like to thank the SRHC Foundation. They provide some financial support for the diabetes support group meetings, and they make all of this possible. Our next video will be in August, so look out for our advertisements on Facebook, on the SRHC website. And if you would like to receive notifications about our next meeting, email us at the address below and we will add you to our contact list. Thank you guys for our time.